Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again. For our penultimate conference of the day, I'd like to welcome on stage Appfarm with the talk Scaling Up with Appfarm, Create, Unleashing the Power of No-Code in the Enterprise. For that, we have Simon Larsen, CPO and co-founder of Appfarm. Please give him a warm welcome. And he'll be joined on stage by Aaron Beaton, who's the product management of Appfarm. Give him a warm welcome as well.
Hello. Alrighty. We're pretty excited to be here, back in Paris again. Last year we had a really good time, so yeah. Let's get started. Alright, so yeah, my name's Aaron Beaton. I'm a senior product manager at Appfarm, and with me I have Simon Larsen, who's our chief product officer and co-founder. And today we're going to take a look at the influence that no-code is having in the enterprise. We're going to dive into some pretty cool examples, and we're going to take a look through what it is that enterprises are looking for in a no-code platform, and obviously give our Appfarm perspective on that. Okay, so who is Appfarm? Anyone heard of us before? Yes? A few hands. That's good. Yeah. So we're a Norwegian company based in Oslo, and we make a full stack no-code development platform called Appfarm Create. Appfarm was founded back in 2017 by two childhood friends, Simon and Ola. And now we're almost 50 people, 40% of the team is women, and we have 13 different nationalities.
Thanks, Aaron. So, when we wrote the first lines of Appfarm Create, actually at my kitchen table, we saw a pretty immature no-code, low-code market, but one with enormous potential. So we set out to create a no-code platform that would solve the most intricate problems in terms of software challenges faced by businesses. And now, 6 years on, the market has obviously matured, if you see all the actors here today. And companies are much more willing to add no-code platforms to their toolkit. And Appfarm Create has also grown up, I would say, molded by our experience when we work with a lot of customers creating all kinds of different no-code solutions. And in particular, we've seen an acceleration in the adoption of no-code in the enterprise. And that is what we are going to share today with you. We will have a look at the most demanding enterprise customers and how they access no-code tools and how we tackle those requirements.
Alrighty, so no-code in the enterprise. You're probably thinking something like an internal tool to streamline operations, or maybe some kind of customer data edit and sync. Okay, and they're all great use cases. But today what we want to show you is that we have Appfarm built no-code apps out in the real world, solving mission critical problems in harsh conditions. Okay? We've seen one particular industry really embrace no-code, and that's building and construction. We've worked together to enable some really cool solutions, but also really important ones. And what's cool is that we don't see any ceiling as to what we can achieve. So yes, there are still some use cases that can't be solved by no-code, but we see that they're becoming fewer and fewer. So to kick us off, we're going to show a video from one of our enterprise customers, Skanska, and how they use Appfarm Create. They're one of the largest development and construction companies in the world. They actually use Appfarm in several different areas of their business, but here we're going to focus on how they use apps to support their challenging tunneling activities. And specifically a solution called Spreng.
I think it was several things that initiated the project, because we had support software for all blasting operations. So we actually saw that the software didn't support the safety process needed when you're handling explosives. We wanted to have like a software that streamlined that process, that ensured like the user had all the digital support in every step before he execute the dangerous operations while blasting. That's something we like tested and also had demands for Appfarm. Now it's ready and now it's working with full offline support and user authentication when you are offline. What we have in Skanska, we have our own surveying department. They have been working 50 years on GIS data and map data, etc. Until we build a pilot and we saw that this is working, and now we have live drone data. You can zoom in, look at the car signs, and you can actually count bolts from the drones. You can put in all the map lines, explosives, where we are going to blast the explosives. Also like the model lines of what we are going to build. Everything in one map rendered out in Appfarm.
Very cool. All right. Now, every enterprise likes to think they're different. And they are. They're special, like all of us. But they also have a lot of stuff in common. And in particular, when it comes to selecting a no-code platform, there's kind of a number of aspects that always rise to the top of the list. So today we're going to take a quick tour through 8 of those items, plus a bonus one at the end. Now, as we go through this list, you might sit there and think, okay, but we've had all this stuff for ages. We've had code and low-code tools that could deliver exactly all this stuff you're talking about. And while that's true, now we have it in the no-code space, and what I like to call the benefit trifecta of that. So obviously, it's affordable. It's also easy to use. You don't have to be a developer. And it's fast. Okay. So let's get started. Security and privacy. Has to be the number one item on the list, right? You can't start implementing a no-code platform in an enterprise if you can't tick off all the items on their security checklist. And with security, there are 2 main aspects you need to consider. And the first is the security of the platform itself, the infrastructure it runs on, and all the data that moves around. And the second aspect is the actual software that's created on the platform and the security of that. So let's dig into the first one a bit. All right, how does the provider deliver a secure platform? Okay, so I'm going to run through a quick list here. Where are the data centers located? Do they have geographic redundancy? What are the backup policies like? Do they have security embedded in their development process? What about encryption? Is there frequent security audits and like easy or automated fixes for vulnerabilities? What processes does the platform have in place around responsible disclosure, pen testing? What about ongoing and ad hoc security health checks? And of course, privacy. Are they GDPR compliant? Where does the data go? Who are the sub-processors? And maybe most importantly, is all this information easily available and actually understandable to you? And so now the second aspect is about how you as a developer or an organization can build secure apps. And we're going to take a look at that now.
Okay, so I've been quite lucky that I started Appfarm together with a security nerd. So the security has actually been a key part of the development process since the very beginning of Appfarm. And now we of course have a security team dedicated to securing our platform and answering all those questions Aaron just posed. And on the second part of security, building a platform that supports developers to make secure applications is a quite fun challenge. So an app made with Appfarm Create is secure by default, and implementing your own security policies is actually pretty easy, I would say. And we also have a highly configurable login configuration so that you can define how users log into both Appfarm Create and as an end user. And of course, you can enable single sign-on. We implemented multi-layer access control with fine-grained permissions, as you can see here. That enables to operate with a privilege, with the principle of least privilege. And you can also grant users access only to the specific apps, workflows, or data that they require. Again, this applies both to developers within Appfarm Create and to end users. And of course, we offer pretty comprehensive documentation and support on such an important topic.
Infrastructure. Okay. I think this must be one of the best parts of using a no-code platform, right? You got dedicated experts, I won't say nerds, who love this stuff and take care of it all for you. But obviously, to an enterprise, infrastructure, pretty important. They're running their business on this infrastructure. Their apps are on there. So they need to be able to ensure that it's reliable, it's scalable, there's redundancy. And one thing we've noticed over the past few years is that on-premises deployment, even with enterprises, is becoming much less of a factor. And that kind of, as long as they feel like they can access to the resources that they require, if they've got a peak load or something coming up, then they're pretty satisfied.
Okay, so Appfarm Create is fully web-based and delivered as a service. So we manage everything for you. And there is actually no option for on-premise deployment. And our experience is actually that given the provided the right governance in place, enterprise customers are overwhelmingly positive to this. And we have also partnered up with Google and MongoDB to power our infrastructure. And we have a dedicated team constantly optimizing and monitoring our cloud operations at all time. And of course, we enforce strict security policies, as we have just talked about. And for many of our customers, shared infrastructure is a very cost-effective solution and enables them to leverage no-code, maybe in a way that they wouldn't be able to otherwise. And for organizations that have stricter requirements for data isolation and security policies, or simply demand the reliability of dedicated resources, we can provide turnkey dedicated infrastructure tailored to those needs. And there is, of course, also auto-scaling. So we use auto-scaling to boost performance during peak loads.
I think we've all kind of started to take it for granted that we can easily collaborate on a document or file and create and edit and revise together to reach a common goal. When it comes to kind of collaboration on a no-code enterprise tool, it can mean a few different things. It could be two people working to design a page in an app, or it could be two developers working on totally separate apps, but that share a data model and interact with the same database. Or it could be cross-functional collaboration, where you have maybe a back-end automation engineer and a translator and a designer, all working in the same solution to deliver a project. Now, to pull this off, you need to have a platform that can provide administrative control so that you can have clearly defined roles and permissions in order for everyone to be able to kind of fulfill their purpose on the platform.
Okay, so Appfarm Create was born collaborative. Actually, we had to sacrifice a couple of features in the early days to ensure developers could work together without the boundaries in a multi-developer experience. So we believe that this provides not only boost to the productivity, but also a significant boost to the productivity. At all times, you can see who else is active up in the right corner. And as you build your UI, you can also see which elements other users have selected. And of course, all changes are instantly represented to all the users. And our fine-grained permissions management enables administrators to implement a collaborative model that suits their business. For example, you could define which elements of an app portfolio developers has access to. And whether they can deploy to production, for instance, or edit the data model, or simply update assets. You can also define access levels for external users to collaborate on design and development and testing and internationalization and so forth.
So judging by the companies represented here, I think we can pretty safely say that while building no-code apps is important, being able to build automated workflows and integrations is at least equally as important. So modern application stacks, these days they rely pretty heavily on kind of using APIs to send data in between, trigger webhooks. Then you've got hardware like IoT sensors out in the field that need to push data somewhere. And then it's also pretty common to need to schedule jobs. So to generate a report, send a notification, refresh a token. So we think that supporting these use cases and automation in general is fundamental for a no-code tool in the enterprise.
Okay, so in Appfarm Create, you can create something we call services. And you can think of a service as a headless app that runs on the server. And there are a few ways to trigger these services. First, you can receive a call to a service from an external service. So when you design an endpoint, you can specify an HTTP request method like get or post, and send and receive payloads. And in this sense, you can use services as an extremely flexible API builder and design a custom API for your data model. And secondly, you can create a service, you can call a service, from within an app. And this is very helpful when you have multiple apps which is sharing the same logic. You can build the logic once in a service and then run it from the different apps, out of convenience or out of security reasons. And finally, you can trigger a service on a fully customizable schedule. And as I mentioned earlier, you can use services to design a custom API, but it is also possible to turn on GraphQL with a single checkbox. And this provides you with permission-based access to your data from everywhere you want.
Internationalization. I had to shorten it because it didn't fit on the slide. It was too long. This topic is actually quite close to my heart. My first job when I moved to Norway was managing localization projects in a large software company. we developed pretty good routines over time, but there was kind of always some sense of resistance from the developers. They always found it a bit heavy. And always some frustration from the translators. You know, it was always something that wasn't right. And classic example is we deliver a project with 50 languages, all translated, for a new update, and then the devs would be like, there's one string we forgot to send in. And then, so you send that back to the translators, they're not happy. And then they're like, we don't have the context, where is this being used? Okay, and it's was just a never-ending, every project. But in a no-code platform, development is so rapid, you need your internationalization and localization to be able to keep up with that. So machine translation, very good these days. How can you leverage that? But also, if you're building mission-critical apps, your translations are probably pretty critical as well. So you need to ensure that you're providing context to translators and those translations are accurate. And too often, internationalization is an afterthought, if it gets thought of at all. So this is just a pilot project, we're not going to worry, or this is a temporary solution until we get the real thing. And then suddenly, you know, this software is a vital component of the organization that everyone relies on. And someone's like, okay, we better translate it, and then it's a massive job.
So actually in Appfarm Create, your apps are internationalized by default. So you can configure your base language when you start creating an app with date and number, formatting and everything you need. And then you can add on additional languages as you need. And when you add a component to the UI, we automatically extract the user-facing source text. And this text is presented as a part of the internationalization interface, as you can see here, with context. And you can also, of course, translate from here. But it is also possible to get help from machine translations like Google Translate, as Aaron mentioned. And as a developer, you can quickly start to translate your apps so that you can, without involving translators, of course, and then you can start to identify possible issues like overflowing text and things like that. And when it's time to finalize the translation, you can create specific roles for translators or subject matter experts so that they can come in and edit and review the translations. They can see all existing translations and see how a string is used in a context of the app. And it is also possible to download the strings and import it into a translation management system to leverage organizational translation memory and ready-made glossaries before you import it back into Appfarm Create.
So maybe you know that Norway has a lot of mountains, big, beautiful mountains, all the way up and down the country. And I kind of think that when a Norwegian sees a mountain, they think two things. One, it would be nice to hike up and ski down that mountain. And number two, we should build a tunnel through it. There's over 1,200 road tunnels in Norway. So you can imagine that kind of that focus and expertise on tunneling is pretty important in the construction industry. And from the Skanska video we showed just before, it involves a lot of explosions. And they go in, blow up part of the mountain, and then they have to secure the tunnel and extract the rock. As they do that, they're putting bolts into the rock and putting down concrete, and they have to record all of that because the bolts they put in and the concrete they lay down, that's how they get paid. So it's not an overstatement to say that being able to record all this data is business critical. But how do you use your app on a phone or a tablet to record that data and send it back to your reporting software when you're deep inside a mountain? Or anywhere the network coverage is poor, unreliable, or non-existent, like out at sea? Let's see.
Okay, so to address these issues, we build support for offline apps. And this means that with a few adjustments to your mental model and how you build your web apps, you can turn it into an app that works both online and offline. But, of course, there is no silver bullet when it comes to building advanced offline applications. But as a no-code platform, it is pretty crucial to offer the building blocks and the developer tools to solve these important challenges around an offline application. So this is, for example, data consistency. You need to maintain data consistency between offline and online systems without losing your data. And there is versioning, so managing different versions of the app and ensuring that you can synchronize data across different versions. And of course, there's always user experience. So the user experience should be pretty seamless, whether they're working online or offline, or if they're transitioning in between the two states.
So one of the promises of no-code is the speed at which you can develop and deploy, right? I mean, take a look at our website. It's definitely something we promote. And in the beginning, you can move fast and break things. But when you've deployed to production and you're making changes to those business-critical apps and APIs, you need to have clear workflows for testing and approval. You need a way to be able to communicate what's being changed and schedule an update. And one-click deployment is nice, we have it. But what about when you stuff up? Because you will, get those messages that start ticking in that someone can't log in or some data didn't get saved. They're not pleasant. And mistakes can happen during development too. You get something working and then you come in the next day, make a few changes, and it doesn't work anymore. So you need to be able to rely on those clear processes all the way through the app development lifecycle. Because when things inevitably go sideways, you need to be able to dust yourself off and recover and get things working again.
So, as you're building an app in Appfarm Create, you're in the context of the development environment. So changes are deployed instantly, and you can get an instant preview of your app with hot reloading. So there's no waiting for code to be generated and published because of our interpretive approach to no-code. So when you're ready for your app to move on to the next stage of the development process, we have three additional environments that you can deploy to. It's test, staging, and production. And it takes just a click to deploy your changes to the next environment. So the test environment is isolated with its own database and its own isolated data. And the staging environment uses the production data so that you can run a last QA test before you put your application to production. And additionally, API keys and integration endpoints can be defined per environment so that you don't push test data to production APIs and so forth. And in the event of a serious bug or any problem, we have a feature we call snapshots. And these are a type of backup that automatically captures the state of your app in a point of time. And that's UI logic and, of course, your data model. And when you need to, you can then reapply a snapshot, and your development environment will instantly revert back to that point in time, just like a time machine.
Okay, so I know this is a no-code conference, but we're going to talk about code for a little bit. Hope they don't kick us off stage or anything. Now, no-code is often about familiarizing yourself with constraints. You drag and drop a pre-built integration or UI component. You do a bit of configuration, and that's it. Okay, there's some things you just can't build with no-code, right? But the thing is, there are some kind of business or industry specific use cases that will never make sense for a no-code platform to implement. But don't you think it's a shame for those businesses to have to miss out on the benefits of no-code? So for example, maybe you have a data set in Mapbox and you want to integrate that data directly into your app. Perhaps you have a 3D model of a building under construction and you want a way to highlight the vital structural components. Or maybe you want to integrate video conferencing. These are all real use cases that have been implemented with Appfarm Create.
Okay, so we have solved this issue in Appfarm Create using something we call coded component. It enables developers to build entirely custom and, of course, interactive UI components while still retaining seamless access to all your app's data and all your application's logic. So this is the previous slide shows, I guess it's a Mapbox or something. Yeah. And inside of Create, it looks like this. So a very important aspect for us when we designed the coded component was to make it sure it feels like a first-class citizen in our component library. So while we hope that developers can achieve the vast majority of what they want to build without using coded component, when they actually do use it, it should be as easy to use and as flexible as the rest of the UI library. And beyond coded component, we also support JavaScript to display calculated values, to set data values, and you could also import JavaScript libraries into your app and run your own code as a part of the logic. So while you can build pretty complex and capable apps and services in Appfarm without using code, we do support JavaScript where we think it makes sense.
Alrighty, it's already time for the bonus round. Well done. Now, when an enterprise is selecting a no-code platform, there's lots of capabilities that they can go through and tick off the list. Yes, we've got that and we've got that. But this one, flexibility, it's a bit intangible. Okay, but we think it's important. Right? When you're building up the competence and knowledge of a platform in your organization, that's a big investment. So you need to know that it's going to be worthwhile. And you need to be certain that the platform will be able to solve problems across the business, up and down, for internal use cases and public facing as well. So how do you measure flexibility? Well, the good news is I have an answer. Our opinion is that a flexible platform leads to happy developers. Provided that is, that flexibility doesn't come at the cost of productivity. You need a platform that allows for freedom of expression while providing the standard components and guardrails that no-code platforms have. So, to understand flexibility, we need to get the developer perspective. Do developers enjoy building on the platform? Because if they do, they will build remarkable things. And a platform that ticks off all the items on your list but has developers banging their head against the wall is going to cost you a lot in the long run.
So, as we develop Appfarm Create, the developer experience is obviously in the forefront. So how does this change or this new feature contribute to positive developer experience? And how can we make developers more productive and happier and more impactful? So we want Appfarm Create to be a joy to use, and of course we want to provide the developer with superpowers. So our aim is to combine the beauty of modern front-end builders with the capabilities and powers of traditional local platforms. So a big part of the developer experience for us is having the flexibility to create whatever you want. But providing flexibility does come with some risks. It is possible to make design decisions that result in an app that is not very performant or is somehow misconfigured. So to support this kind of flexibility, we have built a couple of important features into Appfarm Create. So, during development, we can guide users to make better apps through real-time analysis of the application model. We provide in-app dev tools, as you can see here. This is a screenshot from the client, the end-user application, with the developer tools at the bottom. So, through this developer tool, you can inspect your data and debug your logic. And we have something we call reference check. So you can see how any item in your UI or logic or your data model is connected to the entire solution. And the reference check also runs automatically when you try to delete something, just to prevent broken references. And you can also run it yourself to identify where everything is used inside your solutions. And as a part of the developer and testing process, we also recommend using something we call app health, which is a concept where you, with one click, generates an overview of errors and warnings and provides you with useful tips on how to improve, for instance, your performance. But the best way to highlight the flexibility, I would say, of this platform is to show you some examples of what our customers have made with Appfarm Create.
So first up, we've worked with a customer called Virka. They're the largest union in Norway for companies in the trade and service industries. As a business, you can sign up and you get kind of access to resources that help you run your business. For example, a guide to labor law. Sounds fun, right? So let's see what they were able to build in collaboration with Appfarm and deliver to their 25,000 members.
Appfarm started and got the sketches from our design company, and then actually they started to make the data model, user experience and functionality. And they started with 2 developers in September, and already in February we were ready to launch after they tested the product.
I løpet av veldig kort tid hadde de løst det, og mye fortere enn det vi hadde forventet eller var vant til.
We were surprised by the development speed, so we had to adjust our internal decision-making process. There were many things that need to be answered to keep up with the speed of the developments.
I tillegg så fikk vi ganske mye brukerdata som vi ikke hadde hatt før. Så vi kunne se hvordan brukeren oppførte seg og hvilke temaer de var interessert i. Og vi tror jo at når vi har et helt økosystem av produkter som henger sammen både teknisk og visuelt, så vil det gi en mye høyere verdi for brukeren.
We are continuously working to optimize our processes in Virke for the benefit for our members. But what we know is that what we have achieved today and what we are planning to achieve wouldn't be possible with the traditional software that is in the market today.
So, as you got a little glimpse and hint of here, Appfarm Create give you full freedom of expression when it comes to the UI. And of course, with full support for responsive design. Because we think that the user experience is quite often forgotten when it comes to enterprise apps, but business users, we think, appreciate an interface that works smoothly and looks nice just as much as anyone else.
Now I really wanted to show you another video, but I'm informed that we're rapidly running out of time. So unfortunately we have to skip this one, but I'm sure it'll be up on the website and everything soon. Yes, there we go.
Aaron,
Yeah.
I guess we have 5 more minutes, so we might manage to run the last video.
4 minutes.
4 minutes, okay.
We've got to have some time for questions. Okay. So we're wrapping up. Not long until the party starts, right? Want to give a quick shout out to one of our customers tomorrow who's going to have a talk at 2 o'clock. Bevart, they make a really cool art monitoring system called Custodian that uses IoT and data and things, and it's super interesting, so I really recommend you check it out and get kind of a bit of a different insight. And obviously come and talk to us at our stand if you want to get a demo and have a chat.
Or just if you think this water bottle is pretty neat.
Get some free stuff.
Yeah.
And finally, we're pretty excited to be able to offer everyone here a 30-day free trial of Appfarm Create. So just scan the QR code, fill in the form, and you'll be in the system. Or again, come visit us at our stand and we'll sort it out for you. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aaron and Simon. I hope you enjoy your time in France. And don't hesitate to visit their booth. It's one of the gold one next to Allegria. Just so you know, in 15 minutes, we are going to start a new concept here on the master stage. It's called the startup pitch. It's really interesting if you want to stay. There's going to be like an award ceremony after that during the party tonight. So see you there.